Hi there, welcome to the Happy Chicken Coop YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about, is it safe to feed my chickens table scraps? Before we get into that, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, be sure to subscribe to our website, thehappychickencoop.com. If you subscribe using the link in the description below, you'll receive a free ebook on the 10 best egg-laying chicken breeds. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Many first-time chicken keepers ask a common question: can I feed my chickens table scraps or leftovers? We recently have had several people email and ask us this, so today we're going to delve down and take a look. We've touched upon what to feed or not to feed your chickens in our previous blog post. If you're interested in that, I can link to that in the description. However, we didn't specifically mention table scraps within this. We all know that chickens are omnivores. They will eat just about anything as far as plants, small animals, insects, and of course, whatever else they can find. So it can get a bit tricky with table scraps. So tricky, in fact, that in the UK, feeding table scraps to chickens is against the law. So let's dive in. Let's talk first about basic chicken nutrition. Before we look at chicken scraps, let's look at the basics. It would help if you were feeding your birds a proprietary brand of feed every day to supply them with the correct amount of protein and nutrients that they need. The bulk of their diet should be made up of this feed. Truthfully, chickens would survive without any leftovers, but we do enjoy doing it, and it recycles waste and cuts down on food costs. So what's not to like about that? Now, when it comes to feeding chicken kitchen scraps, the dietary enemies of hens are fats in excess, processed sugars, salt, and carbohydrates. So make sure you don't feed your chickens processed sugar. Now, does that sound familiar? Once we know who and what the enemy is, we can control how much and what we give our birds. As much as we love them, we don't want to kill them with kindness. Now, let's talk about the chicken scraps we shouldn't feed to chickens. Now, we know what an excellent essential chicken diet looks like. Let's find out which foods we definitely should not be feeding to our girls. The first one is meat. It would help if you were not feeding any uncooked, moldy, or processed meat to your flock. Processed meat usually contains fat, salt, and not to mention preservatives. Raw and moldy beef can lead to food poisoning. Meat that has been cooked, like cat food, is all okay in moderation. Your hens don't need a daily diet of meat other than that, and than what they may eat in the way of bugs. Chickens are omnivores, which means they can eat both meat and vegetables. If your chicken has a choice between tasty, meaty morsel or a piece of vegetation, they'll probably go for the meat. It might even surprise you to learn that chickens love to eat mice, frogs, and other types of protein around the farm. And if one of your hens is lucky enough to snag one of these treats, get ready for a show because the race is on, and the rest of your flock will want to grab a bite as well. Additionally, if your chickens are a tad under the weather and need an immunity boost, giving them some of their scrambled eggs does wonders for their health. The extra protein is also excellent when your chickens are molting or stressed. The next one is fast foods. Your hens should never eat leftover pizzas, Kentucky Fried Chicken, hamburger buns, or French fries. These are all loaded with excess fat and carbohydrates, which are extremely bad for chickens. Popcorn is not recommended. It could cause an impacted crop. Also, just in case you're wondering, hens do not need donuts, way too much fat and sugar. Just remember that hens don't need salt or any refined sugars. Also, make sure you don't feed your chickens avocados. There are, of course, conflicting views on what you can and should feed your chickens. I have compiled a list of chicken scraps you should avoid feeding chickens. So, number one, avocados. They contain a certain chemical which is toxic to chickens. Also, apricot pits and apple seeds. They're still healthy, but I will avoid this in the future. Just never feed them apricot pits. Onions, they contain a substance called thiosulfate. I'm not going to bore you with the chemistry, but it can cause something called Heinz anemia, more commonly seen in pets such as dogs that ate the garbage. Uncooked beans, avoid all raw beans as they contain hemagglutinin, which is poisonous. Raw eggs, that's pretty self-explanatory. You don't want your chickens to start eating the eggs that they lay for you. Cat food, the jury's still out. Some still say no, some say okay in moderation. My experience, it's fine, just in moderation. Citrus is alleged to cause feather picking in birds. And absolutely no chocolate, candy, or sugar. No, they don't need it. Chocolate is also toxic. So now let's talk about what scraps you can feed your chickens. Many keepers make a chicken mash for their birds. This consists of potato skins, seeds, veggie peelings, banana peels, brown rice, spaghetti, whatever is left over from the night before. They add a little water, cook it down into a mash consistency, chop it into a processor if necessary, and feed the birds when cooled down. Don't worry about giving them long pieces of spaghetti. Having watched one of my hens suck down a baby snake, I don't think they would have much trouble with spaghetti. You don't have to make mash daily. As long as the leftovers are kept cool and don't begin to mold, you can make a weekly mash if you prefer. Now, there's some controversy about potato skins. As long as they are not green and have been well cooked, they will be just fine. If kitchen mash seems like too much effort, you can still feed your chickens chicken scraps. Just take the leftovers and place them inside the chicken pen on the floor. As with all foods, it should be reasonably sized portions. Remember, the hens' primary nutrition comes from their feed. If you upset the nutritional balance, you can also irritate the metabolism of the flock. This can cause decreased egg laying and obesity. During fall and around October, a lot of people are producing an abundance of zucchini, cucumbers, squashes, and pumpkins. All of those can be halved and fed to the flock. A pumpkin or two in the coop or run over the winter months will help relieve boredom. These treats are all natural, but the key is to make sure they don't make up more than 10% of the daily intake. So to summarize, the bottom line with feeding table scraps to your flock is making sure the scraps are healthy and nutritious. The girls are working hard to produce yummy eggs for use, so don't fill them up with processed foods. If you have leftover pizza, KFC, etc., toss it in the trash. Remember, just because you can eat it doesn't mean that your chickens can or should. Chickens get all of their critical daily nutrition from their manufactured feed, so don't feel bad if you don't have a daily treat for them. They're happy to see you. However, from experience, they will even be happier if you do have a little treat. Now, let us know in the comments below which chicken scraps your chickens love. And that's going to do it for us here at the Happy Chicken Coop. Thanks for listening. If you find our content interesting, if you learned something new, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. And with that, I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.